cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut.
Today's episode is brought to you by ETB Games. ETB Games is, of course, our locals in Alexandria, Louisiana. They are our one-stop shop for all of our card game needs. They have singles and sealed product for the games that you love, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, and Pokemon. Of course, you can also find the accessories that you need, such as sleeves, binders, playmats, and more. And if you're into D&D, well, they have all of your D&D figurines, the paint for the figurines, dice, books, and anything that you would need to play. So be sure to check out ETB Games. There's a link in the description down below. And now, back to today's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. I am Sunny. I'm here with my co-host Caleb.
Hello.
And of course, we want to thank all of our wonderful sponsors for making today's episode happen. So a huge thank you to, of course, ETB Games. That one. Yep, definitely them. I'm sorry. I've had an extremely long weekend, and I'm very tired.
Yeah, it's cool. So we just heard an ETB ad before the show.
Yep.
And then there's
Steelfox Games.
Steelfox Games over in Shreveport.
Gem Accessories.
Dragon Shield.
Yes.
And Millennium Threads.
Yes. And TCG Player. So be sure to check out all of the links down below. Some of them, like, for example, Gem Accessories and Millennium Threads have a link with a discount code to get 10% off either your first purchase or any purchase. And then some of them, such as Dragon Shield or TCG Player, that's an affiliate link.
Yeah, so
click it before you shop, and it helps out the show.
Yep.
And of course, we're going to thank all of our patrons at the end of the episode. But if you are interested in becoming a patron, it is as cheap as $1 a month to get your name read out on the podcast. It is cheap as $5 a month to get an extra episode every week.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not really Yu-Gi-Oh! Focused episodes. We
Yeah.
talk about Pokemon. I think this coming episode is Kingdom Hearts, things like that.
So I think we talked about One Piece for an episode. There's an episode we talked about furniture for 30 minutes.
We did talk about furniture for quite a while. I don't know how that happened. But yes, so if you're interested in that, please check that out. And the last thing is, the number one way that you can support the podcast, it costs you nothing, is to go ahead and subscribe to us here on YouTube. So, if you're on Spotify or iTunes, follow us there, but also YouTube, because, YouTube is something else that we also do. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get on into today's main topic. So, it has been a little over 1 year now since a couple of things happened. First off, we had the announcement of the alternative formats for Yu-Gi-Oh! So these formats consisted of Time Wizard format, Rivalry of Warlords, Deckmaster, Heart of the Underdog, and Common Charity. And of course, right after we got this announcement for all these alternative formats, we got something even more exciting, Master Duel.
Mm-hmm.
So Master Duel also released just a little over a year ago at this point. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about each of the formats individually, kind of the impact that they've each had on how we think about Yu-Gi-Oh! And what we do. But before we do that, I want everyone, and I mean everyone listening to this podcast, to go into our Discord server or into the comments of YouTube down below and go wish Caleb a happy birthday.
Yeah.
As of today's recording, this is his birthday. So he is officially really old now.
Yep.
What are you, 30?
Yep.
Really old. So let's go ahead and get on into today's episode and talk about what format do you want to start with? I'll start anywhere. It doesn't bother me.
Let's go in alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order. Okay, so we're going to start with Common Charity.
Yep.
So, Common Charity, the basic rules is it's an alternative format for local tournaments offered by OTS stores that is designed to encourage duelists to flex their deck building skills in a fun and creative way. The format is primarily intended to be fun and casual rather than competitive, allowing duelists different ways to enjoy participating in the tournaments. Common Charity requires all duelists to build a deck using only common rarity cards. Even if a card has been printed in other rarities, only the common rarity versions of the card may be used in a common charity deck. As with all local tournaments, each OTS determines the tournament entry and prizing, so please check your OTS for these details, yada yada. So, essentially the entire purpose of this is to print or to make decks using only cards that are printed in common.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have heard of some places saying as long as it was printed in the common rarity, that's fine.
Yeah, but I think that'll change from OTS to OTS. But officially, if Konami was to run this event at a YCS, everything would have to be the common printing.
Or, technically, officially, if it is running at OTS, the cards have to be the common version.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. It has to be like
OTSs don't get to choose.
Yeah. Like if it was like Blacklist Soldier Envoy of the beginning. I mean, you have to run the one from Structure Deck Showdown.
Right.
Because it's the only common printing of the card.
Darkroom Dragon might be the same way.
Yeah, from the Chaos Dragon Structure Deck, the one with like Pulsar and Dark Flare.
Oh, was Darkroom Dragon a common there?
Yeah.
I knew it was a common in the Showdown Structure Deck, which is why I said that.
I don't think he was in.
No, it was.
I don't remember him being in that deck.
It was.
To be fair, I probably took it out immediately.
Yeah.
Because
at this day and age, who runs Darkroom Dragon?
Yeah.
So, I think that Common Charity is a cool format in concept, but I think in actual practice, it is kind of a difficult format to play.
Oh, yeah, because so like even if you try to play into an archetype deck, you're going to be missing some major key pieces because some of those key pieces were never printed in common.
For most archetypes.
Yeah.
The biggest issue for Common Charity is that there are a handful of cards that were only printed in Portuguese OTS packs in Brazil and Portugal.
And that's the only way to get it as a common.
Right.
Like what, Inzektor Hornet?
There's quite a handful of cards.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, Portuguese just didn't get card releases for a while, so they get like an extra like 15 or 20 commons in their OTS packs.
To kind of help them catch back up, yeah.
Right. So Portuguese commons are actually like fairly expensive for some cards.
Because that's the only way you can play that card in Common Charity.
Right.
Like at that point, then Konami would have to then like ban those cards. You just can't use them, or then they'd have to.
But they haven't.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Konami's even actually run like Konami themselves. I mean, at like a YCS have actually run those.
They haven't run it at a YCS level, but it has been run at
various OTSs,
and it's got a very, very bustling Discord server.
Okay.
So there's a Common Charity Discord server that runs regular Common Charity tournaments, and it's a pretty interesting format.
Yeah.
It's to the point where I know some people that are in that Discord server, and they complain heavily. They were very upset. I'm not gonna say they were complaining, but they were pretty upset at the concept of what was it? Evenly matched potentially being a common out of the upcoming structure deck.
Oh.
Because there's not really like a good answer for it in Common Charity.
Fair enough. Your only answer that I can think of off the top of my head is the common Solemn Judgments.
Right.
And then you have to run Solemn Judgment.
Right.
Like what even decks are even viable in Common Charity at this point? I know B Trooper because everything got reprinted as a common in the 10.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I imagine B Trooper is viable because, like I said, everything's got reprinted as a common. At least like maybe not pure B Trooper because you can still run some of the extra stuff. I think.
I legitimately don't know.
Yeah. It'd be how it'd be. Sue ships. Sue ships might actually be viable because they're common.
That is actually true.
Yeah, yes, there are some Sue ship cards that are rare, but those are reprinted as a common in the 10. So you can get those as common. Also, I think Gungan Sue ship Shari, the vanilla, was also reprinted as a super, which is really nice looking.
Yeah, I think that there is like a meta for Common Charity.
We just don't know it off the top of our heads.
Yeah, there's like a specific I don't know. There's specific things that people want to do.
Yeah, but like also the fact that this rule set exists where you can only use common cards also gives Konami an incentive. It both incentivizes and de-incentivizes them to reprint something as a common that if it doesn't have a common printing, because then they'll introduce that into the common charity format.
Overall, I think that this is a format that was embraced fairly well by the community, and I think it's a cool format. I'm down with common charity overall.
Yeah, so am I. I imagine it's a considerably slower format because you can't run.
No, it's really not. It's not. It's not that slow.
Okay, I figured it'd be slower, but
they still be moving.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Combo is combo, man, and it exists everywhere.
That's entirely fair.
So next we have Deckmaster. So Deckmaster is interesting.
Yeah.
So Deckmaster has a whole additional rules section on the Yugioh-card.com website. So same thing. It's an alternative format for local tournaments and OTSs to, flex your deck building skills. And it's primarily intended to be both fun and casual rather than competitive. So as this format is intended to be fun, OTSs are allowed to limit options duelists can select for their Deckmaster in the interest of preventing powerful Deckmasters from limiting the fun of the format, which is very good.
Yes, because when they first announced the rule set for this, people immediately went, so I'm just going to run this Deckmaster and just never lose.
Right.
Literally unbeatable.
Yes. As with all local tournaments, each OTS decides all the entries and prizing and stuff like that. So here are some special rules that apply to Deckmaster tournaments. The Deckmaster can be any monster card from the main or extra deck. The Deckmaster begins each game outside of the deck. However, the Deckmaster is not considered to be on the field. The Deckmaster can be special summoned to the field during any main phase by the turn player whenever there is an open game state. The special summon does not use the chain. So it's an inherent special summon.
Yep.
Once a Deckmaster has been special summoned to the field, if it leaves the field for any reason, that duelist loses the game. And as an exception to this is when the Deckmaster is tributed for a tribute summon or used as material for a Fusion Synchro Xyz or Link summon, the newly summoned monster becomes the Deckmaster. I did not know that.
Yeah, I think that's something they added in later because that was probably one of the most common. Because I remember that being a major question I got asked is what happens if it's used as
material. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the opponent tributes a Deckmaster, a duelist's Deckmaster, or uses that as material, the duelist loses the game still though.
So like if you mind calling it and then tribute it for Caius, they lose automatically.
Or if you use it for Underworld Goddess.
Yeah.
That's broken. If a Deckmaster has a card effect that applies while the monster is face up on the field, that card effect applies as if the Deckmaster is face up on the field.
For example, Jinzo was long as face up on the field, trap cards are negated.
Correct. Or Naturia Exterio?
Maybe?
It has like a continuous effect.
Yeah. Another one was what was it? Lost Warrior from another planet?
Right, yeah, neither player can summon monsters.
Yeah.
The main deck and extra deck must still be legal after the Deckmaster is chosen. This means if the Deckmaster is chosen from the main deck still must have at least 40 cards after the Deckmaster has been removed, of course.
So you have to run a 41 card deck, basically.
More or less. The Deckmaster does not count as part of the deck for deck building. This means a duelist would not be allowed to build a deck with 4 copies of a monster card with the intention of using the 4th copy as the Deckmaster.
So if you're doing Jinzo, just as an example,
right,
and you have one as your Deckmaster, you can only have 2 other Jinzos in your deck.
Yes. The main and extra deck must be legal before the Deckmaster is chosen. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so to be honest, Deckmaster format is... there's a word, it starts with S and it ends with show.
Yeah, it's like the biggest issue is the fact that if the Deckmaster is removed, you just automatically lose. I think they should have done more of a...
I don't think that's the biggest issue.
Well, it is one of them.
Yeah, it's a huge issue, yeah.
Yeah. Because then it makes removal just
Broken.
infinitely more powerful. At that point, you
Here's
never
what I want to know.
commit your deck master to the board. Never.
Here's what I want to know.
Hmm?
What if you Solemn Judgment the summon of the Deckmaster?
I don't.
Because it never technically hit the field.
But it's still removed from the field, so I think.
But it wasn't on the field to be removed from it.
There's also the possibility that you can't solemn judgment it.
Oh,
There's
God.
also that possibility.
You see, this is part of the issue with Deckmaster format to me, is that the rule set is so
Vague
and unintuitive that it's just impossible. But the biggest issue to me is that I really think there needs to be a suggested list of Deckmasters.
Yeah, or like a list of, we suggest you ban these deck masters at bare minimum.
I think the best way to do it would be to curate a list of, say,
Yeah.
20 cards and say, these are your Deckmasters. These would make good Deckmasters.
You know what I would do?
What?
One deck master for each of the anime main characters, and then like one deck master from each archetype that wasn't part of anime deck.
That's just too many, though. You're talking about like 100.
Yeah. But that's still better than you can only have these 20 and then they're all vanillas. It's like,
Well, I guess, yeah.
it's definitely something that would have to take a lot of work.
A great Deckmaster. Blackwing Armor Master.
Yeah. That's actually fairly solid. It's protected from It's protected from being just ran over.
Right. It's strong on the field, but it doesn't have a broken continuous effect.
It doesn't have a continuous effect at all, I don't think.
Exactly.
Well, actually,
Another one. Virtual World Shenshen.
yeah, that's
Strong continuous effect on the field. Right?
yeah. It's what is it, Macrocosmos?
More or less. I think it's actually... But it's only for cards sent
From the field.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
it's really
yeah.
specific.
Yeah, it's very specific. Yeah, so it's a worse macrocosmo. I'm like, that's something like that. That's fine.
Yeah, I think that there are ways to do it. That's really interesting.
I just thought up of a weird deck master question.
Sure.
Your deck master Stardust Dragon. You special. Your opponent activates Regeki. You activate the effect of Stardust Dragon, tributing it. You would just lose.
Yeah, that's not a question. That's just a statement. You just lose.
And then if you summon Black Rose, activate
Sure.
effect.
You just lose.
Yeah.
I think that in an instance where the Deckmaster has to tribute itself for its own cost.
Well, Black Rose Dragon doesn't tribute itself. It just destroys itself. And then that's it. But with Stardust, I think should that ever come up, they should allow Stardust effect to activate and resolve as normal, because it still attempts to bring itself back.
Right.
But then I would say that if it doesn't get brought back for whatever reason, then you lose.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of this format needs a lot more tweaking.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of the biggest issue with the format, is that everything is just so vague and undefined.
And there's just so many, okay, what about this situation?
Mm-hmm.
And the Konami response is, okay,
It is
what
up
about
to
this
the
one?
OTS's decision.
Yeah. It's definitely something that you're going to need a really good, like,
Involved OTS that really cares to set up.
with a judge who really knows what they're doing.
Yes.
And they can curate themselves. Overall, though, I really think that it could be a really fun format.
Yes.
But, again, it needs a lot of work.
All right, next we have a Heart of the Underdog. So this is another casual, fun format. It requires all duelists to build a deck using a deck type that is not prominent in the current metagame. The final determination of whether deck type is allowed is at the discretion of the OTS, so make sure to reach out to the OTS before you start building. So I think that this format is really essentially just when you see those guys on Dueling Book that are like, no synchro, no exceeds, no pendulum, no link.
It is kind of like that, but I think it's more of a, okay, so whatever decks were in the top 32 of so-and-so tournament, those archetypes are banned. I think is more like what you're supposed to look at. So in this case,
Right, yeah, I agree.
They would ban like Tearlament, Sprite and
Fluonderies.
Flu.
And technically Sword Soul.
Technically Sword Soul at that point.
Which just means that Despia is the best deck. But here's my thing. I think if you do it, you have to curate it a little bit more than that.
Oh, absolutely. Because so like let's just take the the Tearlament example.
Sure.
Do you just ban cards that say Tearlament on it, or do you ban any sub archetype within that deck? Because decks aren't just singular archetypes anymore. There are multiple engines that are running together.
Right.
So do you ban the Tearlaments? Do you ban the Sprite? Do you ban Sprite just because some decks run Sprite? What about, like, with Sprites, do you also ban the Frogs? Do you ban because there's been a couple of them that are also running Tri-Brigades in there too. Do you ban those cards too just because
I think you just hit the actual Sprite cards, but regardless,
just as an example, it's one of those things where it's going to be how fun that kind of tournament's going to be. It will be entirely dependent upon the OTS.
right. I think that the next format that we're going to talk about is honestly a lot more interesting and fun of a format.
Okay.
So next we have Rivalry of Warlords.
Oh yeah, that's very, very cool format.
So another casual one, but it's kind of set up in a tournament style. So every duelist plays a deck from a pool of selected themes from recent booster sets. So for sealed events, duelists are provided with a pre-built deck that matches one of the Rivalry of Warlords deck themes. This can be either randomly assigned or chosen by the duelist at the discretion of the OTS. OTS should give duelists at least 10 minutes before the start of the event to read the guide for their assigned deck and familiarize themselves with the cards. Duelists should also quickly go through the deck to make sure all cards are present and in good condition. Any issues should be brought up with the OTS before the event so they can be corrected before play. For constructed events, duelists would build their own Rivalry of Warlords deck based on the deck themes found here. Modifications to the deck list are allowed. The final determination whether any and all modifications are acceptable for a Rivalry of Warlords deck is up to the OTS.
So basically, your OTS can say, "Hey, we're having a Rivalry of Warlords tournament. Here is the deck lists."
Yes.
And
or they can say, here's the archetype, you go build your own deck list.
Yeah, based on such and such archetype. A great an example would be the Poker Knights.
Yes.
King's Knight, Jack's Knight, and Queen's Knight at YCS.
The face card archetype.
Yeah, at what was it? YCS, the one that we went.
Charlotte.
Yeah, YCS Charlotte. Their Heart of the Dog Rivalry Warlords was just a bunch of those.
Yeah, so you would do an 8-man pod, and everybody would have that deck.
Yeah, so then it came down to who can understand and utilize the cards better. I think it's a lot more of a skill-intensive format because it's tier 0 without being tier 0.
Right. It's tier 0 with bad decks.
Yeah, it's tier 0 with bad decks. But then you also don't get into situations to where whoever goes first wins because the decks aren't going to be that powerful.
Yes.
So there's a lot more back and forth and skill and a lot more skill in that, in my opinion, than as opposed to something like full-on Dragon Rule format with full power Dragon Ruler versus full power Dragon Ruler.
Right.
Where there's not a lot of back and forth. Usually whoever won the die roll won the game.
Yeah, it definitely is set up to be more of a back and forth. So the deck themes that you have here are the Three Musketeers of face cards, so Queen's Knight, King's Knight, Jack's Knight, with all the new support from King's Court like Joker's Knight, Joker's Straight, Joker's Wild, etc. The Amazement archetype with the one with Arlecchino.
Yeah.
Armed Thunder Dragon. So this is from Blazing Vortex where you have Armed Thunder. Dual Avatar, which is an interesting archetype.
That is interesting.
Exosister, the most competitive archetype of the ones that we've talked about so far.
Yeah.
Then we have a Libromancer, which is solid, but I would have to see how the deck is built. Live Twin, Leerlusk, which I'm assuming probably does not have the Tri-Brigades.
Yeah, I'm also assuming it doesn't have the Simorgh link.
Yeah. Magikey, Magistus, Mutant, S-Force, Sulfacord, Starry Knight, Time Thief, and Tunes.
Interesting. And of course, they'll expand. And of course, they'll expand this list as, we continue and get new archetypes.
Right.
But now one thing I found fascinating about this is the fact that Konami is the one who's already,
This is the first one that we've talked about that's at YCS's.
Yeah. Where they actually bother curating them at all.
Yes.
They're like, okay, here are the currently allowed archetypes, and then since they've announced this, and they had originally I think it was just the Face Knight cards.
That was the one that they started with, and
Yeah.
that's the only one that I've seen at YCS events.
Yeah, and then as they've gone on, they've expanded it out further and further.
Right.
Now, what I like about the YCS when you sign up, you literally show up, sign up, and once they've cleared you for entering and all that, I think you give them your driver's license or something, and then they give you a deck.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
What the deal is there.
Yeah,
I don't know
but
exactly how it works. I've never actually done it.
Yeah, but they give you a deck, and that is your deck, which is also good for people who've never been to a tournament, because then they don't have to worry about having all these super expensive cards. They just pay to get in, and then they just pay $20, I think, to enter that side event, and then just boom, here's your deck.
Right.
Have fun.
Yeah. I think that some of these archetypes stand out above others, right?
Exorcister is definitely the most interesting one in my opinion there. Most because it's also the most competitively viable, but also
I don't think it's the best one here though.
No. I think it's the most interesting. Because how good that deck is entirely dependent upon what the other decks are.
Yeah, I think it's either Live Twin or Lyrilusk would be my pick as the best ones.
Yeah.
But I think even something like Dual Avatar or Magic-E could really have potential here.
Yeah.
Because of the low power ceilings of everything else.
Yeah, but if everything's slower than... none of these decks are particularly fast.
Lyrilusk can be.
Yeah. Outside... Yeah.
And some of the ritual ones, like Liberments or Magic-E, also can be.
Yeah. But this is also a good opportunity for Amazement to actually possibly do something.
Yes.
Because it's such a slow control deck that just keeps putting one body on board.
The issue is that if you're playing Amazement, you're playing against 7 other Amazements.
Unless they're doing here's your, you pick from... here's a box, pick your deck out of this box, and it's just a bunch of them.
But that's not... But Rivalry of Warlords, they all have to be the same.
Yeah, and at that point, the mirror is awful again with that. Yeah,
that would be
Amazement.
terrible.
Because then your trap cards are always getting both effects.
Right. And the last addition to this is the Time Wizard format.
The coolest one.
I think it's the best one. So Time Wizard is something that we have talked about quite extensively on the podcast in the form of GOAT format and Edison format and things like that. So this is a bit different. So Time Wizards require the OTS to select a period in time to host the event. The Forbidden and Limited list, available card pool, and game rules and mechanics are then made to match that selected period.
And erratas.
Yes.
That is important.
For example, the OTS selects April 20th, 2010 as the time period for their Time Wizard event. The latest release allowed would be Duelist Pack Kaiba, and the Forbidden and Limited list used would be the March 2010 Forbidden and Limited list. The tournament would use card rules and game mechanics from April 2010.
An example would be Songen would go off its original effect, not its new errated effect.
Correct. And also things like Brain Control, Mind Control. Did it also get an errata?
I don't know. But yeah, Brain Control pre-errated. But also, if the event, if the date that they picked for the event, with that, is before they errated out Priority.
Priority also exists, yeah.
Priority is a thing again.
So the major formats that you have here are GOAT format Edison and Plant 2011, all of which still have priority.
Mm-hmm. Those are the 3 main ones. I think they also have some other options in there as well, but those
there are some good options.
Yeah, but Edison is obviously the best one, GOAT being the second best. Plant Synchro, I think, is more skill intensive than anything else.
Potentially, it depends on how you play it. There
Yeah.
are more than just the Plant Synchro deck to play. But to me, it's the best, most interesting deck of the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, easily.
So
Yeah, because like I remember during that time, I was on Junk Doppel, which was a really cool deck.
I think I was still on Black Wings at that time.
Yeah. You were on like a heavily modified Blackwing list.
Right.
But yeah, I was on Junk Doppel, and I was just about to switch to full-on Plant Synchro.
Overall, I'm really, really glad that they put this in as something that they wanted to support. And I couldn't be happier to see these retro formats getting love from players, especially players that really didn't play at that time. Like, I didn't play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! In GOAT format, but I don't mind GOAT format games. But I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! In that 2010 to 2014 range, so seeing Edison format get love, seeing, Toronto 2011, seeing all of these different formats get people just really loving and in love with the format, it's just irreplaceable to me.
Yeah, it's super cool. As a matter of fact, we're going to a Edison tournament this weekend.
Yes, this weekend at ETB Games.
Yeah.
Be sure to check that out.
Yeah, I'm running this super cool deck where I've actually utilized one of the cards in the deck in a deck in like 2013.
Right.
Flemville Fire Dog.
Yeah, I
which is
don't know what I'm playing yet.
Which is a huge flash of the past for me, because
I would say that this is the most common by a wide margin tournament. Time Wizard is something that you'll see at OTS stores, at YCSs, at regionals,
even some people's kitchen tables.
Right. I mean, we were playing Time Wizard Edison format before we recorded this episode.
Yeah. So
I think Time Wizard format as a whole is very unexplored as far as all of the different formats that have a lot of potential to be really interesting and really fun.
They did have this one issue with their first Time Wizard tournament.
Yes.
Where it was GOAT, but it was after Cyber Dragon and it was before Cyber Dragon, but after Xarian Universe.
No, it was after both. They didn't notice. They released it September 1st. And they said everything up to September 1st is legal.
Yeah, which includes Cyber Dragon and Xarian Universe, which isn't
GOAT format.
GOAT format. That's what, Reaper format?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's how powerful Cyber Dragon and Xarian Universe were, is that they changed the format.
Well, and also there was a September 1st ban list.
Yeah.
So they operated off the old ban list. They basically made up a time frame that didn't exist in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
But
it was the cards of September 1st before the September 1st ban list.
Yeah, so what actually happened is those cards released on like August 14th or something.
Yeah.
But the way old formats used to do it is cards were never legal until the first of the next month after they released. So, for example...
I completely forgot about that.
Right. So, for Cybernetic Revolution...
It was released in August. It wasn't legal to play until September.
Right. So, for example, we just had the release of Amazing Defenders. Those cards under the old system would not be legal until...
February 1st.
February 1st. Right. And Photon Hypernova, which comes out early February, wouldn't be legal until March 1st.
Yeah.
I'm fine with them not still having that rule.
Yeah.
But
particularly because people are going to be excited and want to try these new cards.
Mostly because this way the cards can get hit on the ban list sooner.
That too.
Yeah. So. But overall, I think this is the one that they've put the most time and effort into making a thing. And I think that, it's probably the most liked format from the player base.
If you go to a YCS and see that they have a GOAT format Time Wizard event, they have, in fact, redid everything and fixed it. So it is actual GOAT format.
Yes. That was a one event thing.
Yep, because then, they got told that's not right, and they went, oh, you're right. Crap.
So the next format to talk about, or the next thing to talk about, rather, is Master Duel.
Ah, yes, good old Master Duel.
So Master Duel released a little over a year ago at this point. And I'm kind of curious as to how you feel about Master Duel.
When it first came out, it was great. It was fantastic.
Well,
Because we were getting, because you could actually, build a full deck, get a lot of really powerful staples real quick. Because they were handing out the gems, like
right.
making it rain gems. It was great. I was able to build full power for the basically the OCG balance at the time, Zodiac,
Right.
which was super cool. And then a month later, everything started drying up real bad. People were having issues getting the cards they needed because they weren't getting as many gems anymore because they had gone through all the free, new account gems.
Right.
2 months later, at that point the only updates they had done was like a tournament and which was a bad tournament. That was the Xyz tournament.
Right, where it was just won by decks that had no extra deck.
Yeah.
And then the next tournament, it was just self TK.
Yeah, it was self OTK, self one turn kill, where you would just kill yourself as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Because you still got rewards for losing.
Yeah, and they weren't really that much better than winning.
Or that much worse than winning.
Right.
Because, like, let's say you won, you got 100 gems. If you lost, you got, like, 50.
Right, which was insane.
It's like, oh, cool, I'll just keep losing because that's faster. But you actually had to lose by having a lot of points at zero is the thing.
Yeah, so you just burn yourself to death.
Yeah. And like, so at that point, they hadn't updated the card pool. There wasn't a ban list yet on it or anything.
Mm-mm.
6 months later. And like, this point, we were already, like, we started out 2 sets ahead. 6 months later.
And this isn't even really getting into the ban list itself of the game, no best of 3, things like that.
And then, 6 months later, they still hadn't added new cards, and we were already 4 sets ahead at that point.
Right.
And at that point, and the meta had barely changed at all.
Yes.
And then finally, they did a change. They made a ban list for Master Duel that separated it from OCG and TCG.
Even more.
And then finally,
It was already separate.
Yeah. And then they gave Master Duel the Sword Soul set.
Yeah, so
It was no bueno.
what's interesting is Master Duel has gone through a lot of development in the last 6 months or so, to the point where they get a new ban list every like month to 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
Which I think is really welcome for that format.
Oh yeah, particularly because Master Duel is a much faster, like, what's what I'm looking for? Like, where the meta develops considerably faster.
It gets solved quicker because of it's so easy to go on and get quick games in.
Yeah, get games in, get the cards. You can just, like, if you, like, on a Saturday, you can sit there and just play all day.
Right.
And,
I think that the format isn't entirely broken yet, but it could be if good players were playing it, if that makes sense. Because right now, the vast majority of players that you have playing it are like hyper casual and not really competitive.
Yeah, most of the competitive players are like, that was fun for a little bit. I'm going to go back to my paper.
Yeah, I think that there's other decks that aren't really getting explored because it's like, oh, well, I'll just play Sword Soul. Sword Soul's the best deck. Why is it the best deck? Because it wasn't the TCG?
Yeah.
Master Duel's a completely different format with a completely different ban list.
Max C is legal.
Right.
Like,
it's so different.
Yeah, no. It's very much a case of there's not enough people playing it.
Yes. So overall, though, I think Master Duel was definitely a good thing. I hope that they add the best of 3. I hope that they add
That's the big thing, is best of 3.
Yeah, I think best of 3 is the most important thing that the Master Duel needs to have to be, enjoyed by a wider base. Yeah, a wider audience. So best of 3, and I would personally like the ability to switch between different formats.
Oh yeah, no. Be able to like click on a button and boom, you're in Go format. Click another button, boom, Edison. Click a third button, boom, Plant Synchro. Or
even if I could just play TCG and OCG.
Yeah. Even just switch between TCG and OCG. I would do MD, TCG, OCG.
Right.
It's 3 buttons, and then like whenever you click on one of them, it's then like, let's say you click TCG, it then goes standard, Edison, blah blah blah, and you click
Right.
that, and then it like automatically limits the card pool. Boom, bada bing, bada boom.
The only other change from what you're saying right there that I would implement is you have to be able to craft banned cards,
Yes.
and the rarities on those needs to be lowered significantly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like for instance, if you're doing a goat format, you need copies of Graceful Charity, Pot of Greed, and Delinquent Duo,
Which are all banned.
which are all banned, so you can't craft them in Master Duel.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's, and then even if you could, they'd probably make it like a secret or something.
Yeah, oh yeah, well, ultra, but yes.
Yeah.
So,
They'd make it super high rarity, super expensive to craft.
yeah. Overall, I give Master Duel like a very passing grade.
Yeah.
I like the solo modes and getting the story behind all these different archetypes.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That I do really like that. I give it like a C.
Yeah, I give it a C or a B.
Needs work.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and do a few mailbag questions. What do you say?
Oh yeah.
All right, our first mailbag question comes from Trent in the Discord server.
Woo.
What new mechanic would you like to see? Oh, we did that one on the last episode.
Yeah.
I'm actually sorry. We did that on the last episode. Sorry, Trent.
It's weird.
Okay, what are some of the most important sideboard cards in the current meta, which popular ones are falling out of favor? Didn't we do that one too?
Yes.
I think we did that one too.
Yeah, I don't know if we did or not.
But if we didn't, I will just say triple tactics talent, evenly matched, things like that.
Yeah, are the best. And I think the back row removals kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit.
The only back row removal I would run is Twin Twisters for the bird deck for Fluke.
Yeah. Well, Lightning Storms work too,
Yeah,
but
but
less so. Because
I don't know. I just like having Twin Twisters because they work past turn 1.
yeah. You can also like chain them to the map and basically negate the map.
Right. What master rule has been your favorite? I like the current one.
Yeah.
I wasn't upset with whatever we had when we had Pendulum, or not Pendulum, Xyz.
Oh yeah.
But
besides the current one, I'd say Xyz.
yeah. Now, that was my favorite like era, but you have to remember we didn't play during Master Rule 3 or whatever it was
Yeah,
when
the Pendulum. We didn't play during the Pendulum Master Rule or
the first Link Master Rule.
we played through like the very tail end of that.
No, we didn't.
Well, no, because I remember when you got when
March of 2020 is when it changed.
yeah,
We got
and-
back in the summer.
Yeah, and
We didn't play at all.
I think it's because I came back in with the Shit All Showdown Structure which came out in February
Oh,
of 2020.
Yeah, but you bought it in the summertime.
Yeah, which was bizarre because normally those sell out by March.
Nobody was playing because of COVID.
Fair.
Okay, Leela or Kiss a Kill?
Ooh.
I don't know which is which.
Lilla is the blue one. Kiss Kill's the red one.
I thought it was the opposite.
It might be. Let me double check real quick before I answer.
I like the blue one more. She's more like depressed and anxiety ridden, and that's my thing.
Yes, Kiss Kill is the red one.
Kiss a Kill is red.
Yeah, she's the red one.
I like the blue one.
Yeah. I think I'm actually more partial toward the red one personally.
I can see
A
that.
little more open, bombastic.
Can you name a few of your favorite Edison format decks?
Well, I'm really having a blast with Flemvel right now. I also really like the dragon one just because it's cool.
Yes. I think that... Okay, so... my favorite Edison format deck to play that I think is the most fun is Ancient Gear Machina.
That is a cool one.
It's a fun deck, but it's not super duper competitive. It's not that good.
The funnest thing that you can do with that deck is magical hats.
Dude, it's so funny. Every time I resolve magical hats, I just laugh, and it's such a blowout when it like works correctly.
So, for those of you who do not know, magical hats is an old Yu-Gi-Oh card. So what you do is during the battle phase, right?
Yes, at the
Yeah.
during your opponent's battle phase.
Yeah. So you select one of your monsters, and then you go and grab 2 spells or traps out of your deck. You set the monster, and then set the 2 spell traps.
And shuffle them.
Shuffle them around.
So
And then the spell traps count as monsters with 0 defense.
0 attack and defense. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you pick Gear Town,
Yes.
which does
When Gear Town is destroyed, you special summon when Gear Town is destroyed, you can special summon an ancient gear monster from your deck.
so if your opponent runs over one of your Gear Towns, you just get a free Ancient Gear Galvatron Dragon, who's what, 3k?
Yes.
Yeah. And then if your opponent deems to not attack any of them, at the end of the battle phase, they get destroyed anyway.
Yes. Which is amazing.
So you get the 2 Ancient Gear Galvatron. So no matter what, if the Magical has resolved, you're getting 2 Ancient Gear Galvatron Dragons.
And it is always amazing. So,
better have Mirror Force.
yeah, that doesn't matter. Ancient Gear Gadgetron Dragon is like all of the Ancient Gear monsters. You cannot respond until the end of the damage step with spell traps.
Yeah. But like,
Mirror Force doesn't do it.
no, because usually people will attack with their weaker monster first, which isn't an Ancient Gear and doesn't have that effect, and then
Yeah, usually it's Machina Fortress or something.
yeah, and then boop, you flip the Mirror Force on that. Which
yeah.
I've gotten you with that twice.
I don't remember it being twice. I think it's once, but
I know I've gotten you with it at least once minimum, where you
Yeah.
attack with we had the 2 Ancient Gear Galvatrons and the Machina Fortress wide open. You swung, and I went Mirror Force.
yeah. So I really enjoy that deck. I greatly enjoy it.
Super cool.
I enjoy zombies, but I think I want to rebuild that deck to the telekinetic Powerwell version just for something different.
Fair.
But my other favorite deck is actually X-Sabers. I couldn't tell you why. This is before they were really good.
I think it's because back when we were awful and played Kitchen Table, you played like a small X-Saber package.
There's like a couple X-Saber cards.
Yeah, so you can make.
See, I don't even remember this.
So you can make Urabellum. You would always just synchro into Urabellum and then equip it with
I
Sword
think I
of
just
Sparkles.
played Urbellum and Sword of Sparkles.
It was
Because I don't think that I played any other X-Sabers.
you played Emmer's Blade.
Did I?
You played one Emmer's Blade.
I don't even remember this.
Because I think Urabellum requires.
No, it doesn't. It's
No, it doesn't.
generic.
Okay, no, I'm
Because
thinking
it came
of
in a
Gotham's.
starter deck.
I'm thinking of Gotham's.
Gotham's requires 3 monsters,
Yeah.
one of which has to be a tuner.
Yeah.
The other 2 can also be tuners.
Yeah, I was thinking Gotham's is a weird one. Yeah.
Gotham's is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, you'd make Urabellum and equip him with Sword of Sparkles,
Yeah.
which was a silly card.
What is the best archetype from the GX era? I think there's a correct answer to this, and I don't think it's close.
Gladiator Beasts.
Okay. Gladiator Beasts may have been the best archetype during the GX era of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, isn't that what the question was?
It just says the best archetype from the GX era.
Oh, then probably Hero.
That was my first thought. I thought Hero was an objectively correct answer.
Yeah, but then it's like.
But then you said Gladiator Beasts. I'm like, well, during that time,
okay.
Gladiator Beasts were the best.
Okay, during the GX era, it was Glad Beasts. If we're including every single support card that's been printed for the different archetypes from the
Since.
3 archetypes that were in there, which was Hero,
Gladiator Beast.
Gladiator Beast, and Gravekeeper.
Gravekeeper is actually DM era.
Yes, but it got new support in the GX era.
Sure,
Technically,
but
but
the well, you also have the Roid archetype. You have Neospatians.
oh, Cyber Dragon.
You have Cyber Dragon
But,
archetype.
well,
Ancient Gears.
Yeah, but like even if
you have Light Sworn.
yeah, but like even if you go with
Light
the-
Sworn is probably the third best.
yeah, but like even if you just go like even if you're just talking about during the GX era, the best one was Gladiator Beast.
Yes.
If you go outside of just whatever, it's still Hero. Even with all these, even including Cyber Dragon, especially during the GX era, because Cyber Dragon, the whole Cyber Dragon deck was just 3 copies of Cyber Dragon.
Yes.
Sure, you could run well, and the what was it? what was that card? The Fusion? Contact Fusion?
For what deck?
For Cyber Dragon.
The Contact Fusion?
Yeah.
Cyber Chimera Tech Fortress
Yeah,
Dragon.
and Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon.
Yes. Okay. So, were you done with that?
Yeah, that was the end of my thought.
Okay. If you were a Yu-Gi-Oh protagonist or antagonist, what would your deck archetype be? I think I know mine. But I'm interested to know what yours is.
If we're going with a pre-existing archetype that just wasn't in the anime, because there's a lot of those.
I did not watch the anime enough to know what archetypes were and were not in the anime.
Okay. Outside of... I can actually list off all of the anime archetypes that were actually good.
Okay.
We have Hero.
Sure.
Cyber Dragon.
Blue Eyes.
Dark Magician.
No, not Dark Magician or Red Eyes.
Dark Magician and Red Eyes are playable, but kitchen table pretty much. Or
Not good.
yeah.
Blue Eyes won Worlds.
Yeah, Blue
I'll
Eyes
consider that
won
good.
Worlds 1 year.
ABC. That is technically an anime archetype because the original is the
part of the-
XYZ.
Yeah, it's VWX. Yeah, it's part of VWXYZ.
Yes.
Ujamas.
I wouldn't have called those good.
They're funny.
But that doesn't make them good.
Particularly with
Harpies were better than Ojamas.
yeah, Harpies was another one. Ishizu.
Harpies, I think, got like top 4 at a YCS at one point.
They did. Those I think that was during the
Or top 8 or
I
something.
think that was the first wave of support where they got like
Yep.
the rank 4 exceeds, which
Harpy
was broken.
Channeler
Yeah.
and Harpy and
Dancer.
when Lightning Chidori was out and stuff. Yeah.
So Harpies, Ishizus, Earth
Sure.
Fairies, Gravekeeper,
But if I'm an antagonist or
Pepe.
protagonist, I am literally just gonna play Geargia. Geargia. Geargia.
oh, so Yugi.
Huh?
So, oh no, I was thinking of the gadgets, which was a Yugi thing.
Gadgets were a Yugi deck.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Because I'm used to Geargia being played with the gadgets.
Geargia was more played with Machinas or Karakuri than gadgets. But
Yeah,
yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. For me, it'd be Madolche.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you just have to pick your favorite archetype, right?
Yeah, that isn't already part of the anime.
I couldn't decide. I had trouble deciding between Machina and Geargia, but I just went with Geargia because I love Geargia.
Salamangreat.
Yeah.
It was another one from the anime that was really good.
Yes. I think once you get to later Yu-Gi-Oh, they made an active effort to make some of the anime decks good. Like Trickstars is an
Code
anime
Talkers.
deck. Code Talkers, sure. I just think that the further along you go, the
Yeah,
more
They actually
they
tried.
Yeah.
I mean, Performer Pals became Pepe.
Yes. Perform Pal and Perform Age, yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and thank all of our wonderful, wonderful patrons.
Woo.
So, a huge thank you to Cam Yang, Dragon Maid, Stunzeed, April Floodgate, Kane Martin, Zephyrus, Yeet Defeat, Blackwing Silverwind the Ascendant is the best Floodgate, Earth Machine best deck, Epi has anyone actually read Toy Vendor, HGH Cyber, I am McLincoln, Mom said I could be anything, so I became a mentally, financially, and emotionally unstable millennial. Fair.
I feel that.
Mountain Man, Oatmeal Spaghetti, O, and Alvarado. Pingu is the best deck. Newt.
Noot.
Quitting the game is a Floodgate, Sprite, Farter, Unbanned number 95, Konami. Understanding and reading are two different things. Virtually Savior's World, Rogue, and Tier 2 are the polite terms for bad deck. AD, Aaron Gardner, Asami, Ashless Chaps, Boxwine, Bestial Pizza Hut, Duty Booty, Dragon Maidenless Behavior, For Hire Dog Turd, Helios Purple Cereal. I'm about to take Rika Glamour, Tribute for Cost these plant nuts in your mouth.
Jesus.
That's
a mouthful.
oh my goodness. Oh.
Got him.
Jerry Beans, man. Cam, the disciple of Caleb's waifu philosophy. Old Man Red, pin code 143. Ray Powell. Rescue Aces Tier 1. Watch me. Oh, I'm watching. And Santa Claus. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the podcast. And, of course, be sure to check us out Friday, same time. But until then, have a great week, everybody.
Take care, everyone.